Hello, I'm Tony Kaye. I'm the editor of Eureka Report, and I'm joined again today by Nerida Conisbee from REA Group. Hi, Nerida.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Now, affordability is the really hot issue, as it has been for a long time, and I thought perhaps we'd have a bit of a chat about that today. There's been a few measures that have been announced, especially in Victoria anyway.
Yeah, look, certainly a hot topic. I think, pretty much everywhere at a national level, at a state level, everyone's trying to get a handle on, is it unaffordable? What can we do about it? And, what are the solutions?
Yeah. So on the economic level, what's your take on affordability?
Oh, look, Sydney is unaffordable. I think it is hideously expensive for people to buy, but also very, very expensive for people to rent. And any analysis we've done relative to household incomes in that state show a high level of housing distress. If we have a look in the other states, it's a very different situation. So Perth has become more affordable as prices have continued to drop. It's become more affordable. Melbourne is relatively unaffordable, but certainly not to the same level as what we're seeing in Sydney. So really it's about economic growth. New South Wales and Victoria are growing very strongly. Victoria has been quite well prepared for the level of economic growth it's seeing, the jobs growth it's seeing. It's been building a lot for decades. If we go to Sydney, Sydney hasn't been building much for a very long time period and has really got caught out as a result.
Affordability, it's been on the agenda for so long. There's been various proposals that have been put forward. And we saw the Victorian government recently announced this stamp duty concession within fairly strict parameters, mind you, but they have actually announced something, which is a good move. And then at the same time, we're constantly hearing different things about negative gearing and more recently around capital gains tax. So I guess it's unresolved, but steps are potentially going to be taken.
Yeah, look, everyone's blaming someone for the situation that we're in. In places like Sydney, it's a supply issue. In places, other people getting blamed for it are investors, foreign investors. There's various solutions to it, as you said. If we have a look, Victoria has been on the front foot. They're really looking at a lot of solutions as to how to get more first home buyers in the market, how to continue to make it affordable for those people on lower incomes. I think it's great. I think Victoria, not all the solutions are going to be top notch, and I think some of them will lead to greater price growth in certain price categories. But the Victorian government is doing a lot. It's supplying a lot of housing. It's kind of doing everything right to try and ensure that affordability remains in that city. In Sydney, we haven't really seen much coming out from the New South Wales government. Sydney built quite a lot last year, but it needs to maintain that momentum. And I think New South Wales government does need to do a lot more to make that city far more affordable for people.
Yeah, there's no quick fix really. It's an unsteppable train in a way, the property market.
Yeah, look, and then particularly things like looking at investors. I know investors are blamed a lot for housing affordability, and I kind of get it. If you're a first home buyer and you're going to an auction and you get outpriced by an investor who has not only done quite well out of the property market over the last decade potentially, but is also getting a tax break, it can be very annoying. But on the other side of it, we need, in Australia, we rely on investors to provide rental housing, and in cities like Melbourne, rental housing pricing is about right. It's fine. It seems to be at the right level. In Sydney, though, it's not. It's very, very unaffordable. So, I think investors are an easy target. Foreign investors in particular are an easy target, but we do need to be mindful that any changes to tax policy, any changes to, that affect supply, pricing, it does have implications, and we need to be mindful of what those implications could be.
We've seen lenders tighten up quite a bit, some more than others, but it's becoming harder for investors to get through all the hoops on some levels. Is that... obviously that's in response to APRA, setting strict guidelines on lending limits. But is part of that sort of around the affordability solution as well, do you think?
Oh, look, I don't think the banks are acting to ensure affordable housing. I mean, it's not really their job, I guess, but they are being forced by, not being forced, they're being told by APRA that they need to rein in their lending level. So they've been told for a long time, since I think around mid-2015. So partly it's that, partly though it is because the cost of wholesale funding is starting to increase for them as well. So, you know, they're not only reacting to what APRA is telling them, but the fact is a third of their funding comes from overseas. The US interest rates are going up, so their costs of funds are going up as well. So, you know, there's sort of lots of different things that are impacting banking pricing. Looking forward, I think it'll just become more expensive for people to borrow. I think it'll become more difficult for people to borrow. I mean, I would imagine too that the banks are probably looking at their existing loan books. You know, there's a concern about the riskiness of Australian housing, and they're probably thinking we can probably get more out of our existing customers than drumming up new customers as well.
Well, it's very much a case of, as always, watching the space and just seeing actually what happens, you know, across Australia in terms of addressing this whole affordability issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we'll certainly be keeping an eye on it. Thanks very much for coming in, Nerida.
Thanks for having me.
And we look forward to you joining us next time on Property Point.